G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing John Jonas from OnlineJobs.PH. He's based in Salt Lake City or near Salt Lake City in the United States. Thanks for your time today, John.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Let's start with how we know each other. Someone on your team reached out and thought you might be a great guest to come on the cast.
Yeah, I have people that, I have someone that does that for me.
Yeah. Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
So I run an online job board for the Philippines, which is why you might imagine that I have someone that does that for me. So we're kind of like, I don't know what the job board would be in Australia, but here the job board would be Indeed.com or Monster.com. But we're just for the Philippines, for employers around the world to find a virtual worker out of the Philippines.
Yep.
And so like we have over 2 million Filipino profiles. We have over 500,000 employers using it. And you go on, you post a job, you get people to apply to your job and you interview them and hire them outside of us.
Yeah, right.
So we make money from you pay to access the database.
Got it. Yeah, Indeed.com is, I think it's the largest job site in the world, but the big one here in Australia is called Seek. So they've got about 85% of the market share here in Australia. So it's similar to that. People pay to post the job ad. There's no recurring revenue in your model. It's just that the job advertisement fee.
So the job ad fee is a monthly fee. A lot of people pay it once and cancel it and just use it for that 1 month. A lot of people use it consistently because hiring is so affordable and so easy.
Yep.
It's just so much easier than most people's hiring locally.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, well, I've got 6 team members in the Philippines, 1 in Pakistan. I think my longest serving team member was in the Philippines, is in the Philippines, started about 7 years ago, and they're amazing. Great work ethic, excellent English, smart, and they've been able to help us grow tremendously.
Yeah, totally. It's amazing the culture there and what it provides for employers around the world.
Yeah. Is it something like 83% of the population is Catholic?
Yeah, it's a very Catholic country. It's a very westernized country. Like they watch Dancing with the Stars, they watch the NBA, they watch all of our movies, and they're very often not dubbed in Filipino, so they speak American English, and like it's just really, really westernized.
Yeah,
in a lot of things.
And it's great for us here in Australia because when daylight savings is not on, they're only 2 hours behind us. When there is daylight savings, they're 3 hours behind us. But yeah, with that 83%, if it is around that number, the Catholic, with that comes immense loyalty and a great work ethic.
It's almost like to a fault how loyal they are. The first person I ever hired, 2005, still works for me today.
Yep.
And like, as long as you treat them well, they're not the type that they jump ship at the first job offer, the better job offer. That's not how they are, which is really, really awesome for a small business owner.
Definitely. Yeah. And how did you start out?
How did I start out hiring people? How did I start online jobs?
Well, maybe go right back. Did you, maybe college, university, if you had a corporate job, jump that, any other businesses, and then how you started OnlineJobs.PH? Yeah,
so I graduated from Brigham Young University in 2004. I had a job for 8 months out of college, and my only goal during that time was to quit my job.
At least you're honest.
I'm a terrible employee, and I didn't know that until I had this job, and I liked the job. Like, I liked what I did. I graduated computer science, and I was doing programming, and I liked programming. What I didn't like was 2 things. If I did good work, I got paid the same amount. If I did crappy work, I got paid the same amount. Yep. Like that just didn't work for me. It didn't matter how much I worked or how hard I worked or how good I worked or how smart I was. I still got paid the same amount. And then I didn't like that I had a 1-year-old son, and my wife would call me consistently and say, "Oh my gosh, you won't believe what your son just did. It's so cute," right? And I was at work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hated it. I hated it. So it took me 8 months to figure out how to make some money online. I wasn't making very much money, but I quit and I started working at home, and I left the 9 to 5 to work 24/7.
That old saying, when you work for yourself, it's great because you can choose the hours when you work those 80 hours.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I had no idea. And so from there, like I was running like affiliate businesses and arbitrage and selling some information products online. And I was doing some consulting work, some programming consulting work. And I started hiring people, and I hired some people in the US, and it didn't work out because they were like, "Oh, you're making money online? Well, I can go do that."
Yep.
And I hired some people in India, and that didn't work out, and I'm not going to get into it. I hired some people on Elance, which is like the predecessor to Upwork.
Yep.
Upwork is the evolution of Elance. And the problem there was, like, I thought I had figured everything out. Like, this is amazing. This is like the end all. And I paid him, and his job was to write content, and that was the only thing he would do. And then, like, there was all kinds of other stuff to do with this content. And he sent it back to me and was like, "Oh, now I have to do this stuff."
Yep.
And that sucked. And that it was like this big burden that fell on me. And I had actually created more work for myself. And I ended up getting a tip from someone who said, when you're ready to start outsourcing some of this stuff, make sure you go to the Philippines with it. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. Like, Philippines, India, Ghana, it's all the same, right? And he says, no, it's not the same. And I didn't know. I really had no idea. And so I didn't do it because, I was overworked, and like I couldn't spend the time to go get someone, and it was just too hard. And I didn't know if I could afford it. He gave me a reference where I could find someone full time. Well, like, I'm a small business, and I don't know if full time's right for me. I don't know if I can keep them busy that much, or if they can actually do good work. And after a couple of months, I was finally like, none of this matters. I can't keep doing what I'm doing. I can't keep doing this, working 60 hours a week. So I took the leap. I hired someone. It was the most liberating experience of my life. His full-time job was to do whatever I wanted him to do. And he wasn't particularly great at anything, but he was there and willing and honest and hardworking. And he showed up every day, and he was anxious to work and to contribute. And it really changed my life. And after that, I taught him how to do a couple things. And I realized he's busy full time. And I didn't realize, like, oh, there's all kinds of stuff I could have him do, until I actually had him doing stuff, And I hired someone else, and then I hired someone else. And after some time, people started asking me, "How are you doing this? How are you doing this? How are you doing this?" And so I started talking about it, and finding people sucked. Like, you go to an agency, the agency said to me, "Do you want a webmaster or a programmer?" I was like, "Well, I want a content writer." And they said, "Well, do you want a webmaster or a programmer?" I was like, "Okay, I'll take a webmaster." And then they just pulled someone off the street and said, "Here's your webmaster." Right. And so at some point I was like, man, hiring is just so crappy. And I wanted to find someone on my own. I wanted to recruit on my own. So I went back to them. I had this idea, like, I think I could build a job board and maybe get a couple hundred profiles so that I could recruit someone myself. And I went back to them and said, "I want a programmer."
Yeah.
And so we built OnlineJobs.PH. We got a couple hundred profiles in the first month. I had no idea that the Filipino people would respond to it so quickly and so well. That was 2009 when we launched it, and we passed 2 million profiles last year. We've had hundreds of thousands of employers use it. It's just kind of been like, the world has, since I started it, the world, and before I started this, the world was waking up to and has woken up to the advantages of the Philippines since.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, also some of the positives are they're highly educated. Most of them have gone to university. Some of them have double degrees. Some in my team. And like we said before, that work ethic and loyalty just can't be beaten. And they're very good, particularly just following procedures. So if you're good at if you've got things in your business that are repeatable that you can just write and set and forget into your timetable, they're particularly good for that.
Yeah. They are particularly good at, okay, so this is kind of an interesting thing. They're good at following instructions, but they're also really good at reading between the lines.
Yes.
Like, I left out this instruction, and in India, this is the really big problem with India, is that they're not allowed to fill in the blank. Culturally, it's not allowed. In the Philippines, they'll fill in the blank. They'll try and solve the problem. You have to gain their trust. If you don't gain their trust, they won't do it. But if you've gained their trust, then yeah, they're going to try and solve the problem. And then there's the other side of it, where like, I have someone on my team. I have a lot of people that they're thinkers. Like, I have someone that writes my newsletter that goes out to 100,000 people.
Yep.
And like, we get like 25% open rates, like 25,000 people a day opening my emails that I didn't write.
Yep.
Or making my own social media post because I hate social media, or like improving our customer support because they say, well, we could do this and this and this better. So it's more than just following instructions. Like, I have a lot of thought workers on my team in the Philippines that have really helped grow our business.
I had an example of that the other day. I gave 3 systems I needed assessed for our needs for our chat box on our website. And they went and did the research, came back and said, no, I think this other one you don't have on your list. I think that's the one to go with, because I said why we need this and what it needs to do. So, and we've gone with that one. So yeah, they're really, really great at thinking outside the box at times as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I found that over the years. And the really interesting thing about, like, this is part of their culture. They want to make you happy. They want to please you. That's why they work in nursing and hospitality all over the world and on cruise ships, right? They're a very pleasing culture. But in order to get that from them, you have to gain their trust. You have to do things so that they trust you. We often go into this thinking like, oh, I don't know if I can trust this person, right? And that's fine for you to go into it with that, but just recognize that they have that same feeling, but their feeling is stronger than yours. I don't know if I can trust this employer.
Yeah.
And until they do, they're not going to go above and beyond, and you're not going to have the amazing experience that you and I are talking about. You have to provide some training. You have to not yell at them when things go wrong. You have to take responsibility. You have to be there for them
and take interest in their life as well. One of the team is right into the NBA. I'm into basketball, so we often chat. The one team member in Pakistan, he's right into cricket. I'm into cricket, so we're emailing back and forth. And when the tests are on, particularly the Ashes between Australia and England, so yeah, you've got to take that time. Like any team member, invest in getting to know them and spending some time with them. And be a good manager. Like you said, don't manage by exception and only raise things when they've made a mistake. You've got to give them feedback, positive feedback, when they've done a great job.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Sorry, I've just gone blank. I had a question. Oh, sorry. We had that little bit I just said now out, the last 5 seconds. Just want to quickly talk about arbitrage. It's one of my favorite words. A lot of people don't understand that, but more the broader concept of people feeling bad about paying a much lower rate for someone working, say, in the Philippines compared to their own country. I've heard you on a couple of podcasts. I know you have a point of view on this, which is similar to mine. Do you want to maybe explain to the audience that arbitrage concept?
Yeah. So let me even take a step back from that and say, like, these people are humans. These are not robots. Where so often people think this is just a robot on the other side of the world and screw you, which is such an American attitude, and it's so crappy. These are humans, and they have families and feelings and needs and wants and desires, and there just aren't that many jobs in the Philippines. So when you provide a job to someone, you're probably changing that person's life, and you're probably actually changing that person's kids' lives and their parents' lives by providing a job. Because the other option for that person is to travel from where they live to Manila, get a job in Manila away from their family, and send what little extra money they have home to their family. And it's just really not a great situation. And you end up with grandparents raising grandchildren because the parents are both out working and gone. And you provide a job, whether that job is making $450 per month, or whether it's making $800 a month or $1,500 a month, which all seem like really, really affordable compared to our local currencies, it's going to change that person's life. And then just the cost of living is so much less. I saw a profile today that someone had created on Online Jobs, which I don't see very many profiles, but I saw one today that they were asking to make $375 per month.
Yeah.
Because where they live, they're just not options.
Yeah.
Like there are not jobs. And $375 a month is enough to support the family. It's not a lot. I can tell you that much. Like they're not living high on 300. In fact, it's very poverty.
Yeah.
But at least they're living, they're eating, where otherwise, man, it's a struggle. So
yeah.
And the whole country's not always struggling like that, but you see it. And that's why salaries are less, cost of living is less, like food costs less and rent costs less, and they don't drive cars and they don't pay for insurance, and the healthcare is much, much less. And yeah.
And the thing that blew me away is the travel. A couple of team members are in Manila, but it can be like 2 hours one way to the office. So 4 hours a day for some.
So common.
Yeah.
That is so common.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, imagine getting 4 hours a day back.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe you make $900 a month at your job and you're going to make $700 a month. Dude, 4 hours a day. That's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of our team members, they've got 2 kids. Her husband passed away a few years ago from cancer, but he was traveling 4 hours a day, and she's obviously able to work from home, which has made a big difference to raising the 2 kids. So yeah, arbitrage. I'm a big believer in it. So the business formally started in 2009, would you say?
Yes, that's when we launched OnlineJobs.PH.
Great. And how old were you then?
Well,
13 years ago. 14 years ago.
I was 31.
31. Great. And do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business?
So Online Jobs has seen 50% growth basically every year since we started.
Wow.
Until 2020, when in March of 2020, we saw a slight decline when the whole world shut down.
Yeah.
And in April, we saw a slight decline. And in May, we saw 25% growth. And in June, we saw 25% growth. And in July, we saw like 18% growth. And so 2020 was like craziness, right?
Yeah.
Like such high growth. And 2021 was really high growth again. And 2022 was actually kind of a flat line for us. I think we're still going to see, I haven't seen the end numbers, but I think we're still going to see a slight growth in 2022, but way, way different than every other year.
That's huge.
Yeah.
A lot of guests I've had on with online businesses and friends as well that have e-commerce businesses all saw tremendous growth thanks to COVID. What about number of full-time equivalents that you started with in 2009 and how many you have now?
Yeah, I mean, in 2008, when I hired that programmer, it was just him and me, right?
Yeah.
I had two or three or four other guys that were working on other things, but not on Online Jobs. It was just him.
Yeah.
And full-time in the Philippines. Today we have about 40 full-time people in the Philippines that work on Online Jobs. I don't have any people in the US, just me and my business partner. So we do everything from the Philippines.
Yeah, fantastic. When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
It's such an interesting question for an entrepreneur. I mean, the moment I felt like I succeeded was like the first day when I made like $73 online.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like, while I still had my job, that was one of the things that led me to quit my job, was like, I made $73. Actually, I think it was before that number. Like the first day when I saw like, oh my gosh, I made like $11 today, something like that. Like, this is real. I could.
Yep.
And then I remember making like $73 in a day and was like, holy crap, I can make a living like on the internet. You know, this is like 2004 when everybody said you can't make money online, you know.
Well, the internet was still very young. It was only 15 years old at that point.
Yeah. And that was when that was, I mean, that was the first time I felt like I made it. And then I remember like my first $100 day and my first $500 day. I remember dancing around the house with my wife.
Yep.
Like we made $500 today, and it was online and it was automated, and it was amazing. So I don't know. I've had a lot of like, wow, I feel like I made it, like my first $100,000 month.
Yep.
That was awesome. Yeah.
What does success look like to you?
So to me, success is progress. And in all areas of life, if there's progress being made, I feel like success is happening. Whether that progress is slow or fast. It's when stagnation happens that I feel like a failure. So, and that includes in family, and especially in family. So for me, there's a quote that has driven my life, and it is, no other success in life compensates for failure in the home.
Yeah.
So when you say success, it's not just business success for me. It's family life, it's personal life, it's relationships, and all of that. Progress is a really, really big deal.
Yeah, good answer. I haven't heard that one. Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
To marketing a fast-growing business?
Yep.
So my number one thing is content. Create content. And like, I mean, if your business is growing, content is how you control the conversation. It's how you sell your product. It's how people decide to buy you instead of someone else. It's how people find you as the solution. It's how you keep top of mind content. It's all about content creation.
Yeah. How did you fund the business?
We didn't. There was nothing to fund.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one guy in the Philippines. I think I was paying that agency $750 a month.
Yep.
So there just wasn't a lot to fund. I mean, I had some money and I paid that. Yeah, that's it.
So have you've taken on an investor or a business partner along the way?
So I had a partner in the beginning, but that's it, just me and him. And we've never taken on any money or anything. We've always been a very cash heavy business.
Yeah.
Like too cash heavy almost. But
good problem to have.
It's a good problem. Yeah, for sure.
If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, for me, yeah. I mean, it's the best. It's the best because business includes life. It's not just about money. It's about fulfillment. And every single day I'm fulfilled because I get employers every single day telling me, this is amazing. Thank you so much. I hired my person in the Philippines and they do this and this and this. Every single day I get emails from people in the Philippines that say, thank you so much. I got a job, and I'm supporting it's the most fulfilling thing ever. And then I get to teach and I get to run a business and I have employees. They're all in the Philippines, so I don't deal with the US garbage. It's when I go back into this, yeah, for sure.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Yeah, the most stressful thing was getting served papers from Microsoft, like at my doorstep, a stack of papers like an inch thick of a lawsuit. At the time, we owned like 300. This is before OnlineJobs.PH, but we owned like 300,000 domains.
Wow.
And a whole
300,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
A whole bunch of them had Microsoft trademarks in it. And we were the ones they made an example of, saying we're protecting our trademarks. And that was stressful.
Yeah.
But in the end, I knew, like, okay, it's money. Like, my initial thoughts are, if I go bankrupt, I go bankrupt. Like that, okay. Like I still have my wife and my kids and we're going to be okay. That was my big thought. Like if I lose everything, I lose everything. I'll start over again. It's okay.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
So I'm good at delegating stuff. It comes natural to me. I am not good at networking. I don't like it. I'm not good at sales. I don't like it. And so those two things I have really had to work at. Like I had to learn to sell online. I had to learn copywriting. I had to learn what makes someone buy. I had to learn to add value. Even though like I don't write copy. I don't do our sales copy, but I had to learn it anyway because you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's those like networking, which I still don't do great at, but making sales is something that just does not come natural to me.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
So I don't have that. One of the things that I have always made the decision. So in my business, I always look at things with a lens of who's going to have to do the work here. Is it me or is it someone else? And so, yes, we've grown fast. Yes, we've grown large, whatever. But I work about 17 hours a week, and I have since like 2008. And so one of the things that I always do is I look and say, who has to do the work here? Is it me or is it someone else? And if it's me, then I just say, no, I don't want to do that thing. I don't want to start another business doing this. I don't want to add this product. I don't want to do this service, whatever it is, if I'm going to have to be involved. And so when you say like, what's the hardest part? Well, I mean, I don't really have that hardest part.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
I mean, the best is I already talked about it, being the fulfillment, like helping so many people. So many people. It's so awesome. The money's not bad either.
Yeah. What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
Yeah. So I remember it was probably 2013. I just didn't think I could successfully run and manage a bigger business. Like I was just a small business kind of dude. Like I was going to make 6 figures, but that's it. And I just didn't think I had it. And I had an experience that really changed that mindset. And that was really when things started taking off. I mean, we hit 8 figures last year.
Yep.
So, that was a big shift and really good growth.
The number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Thinking. I mean, so many people are just lazy. Like you just want to follow steps. You want to follow steps and do what someone else says. Or like you get in this rut. Like it's so easy to go to your email. Oh, I have so much email coming in. I get so many hundreds of emails a day. Dude, I don't get hundreds of emails a day because I work my butt off to prevent it.
Yeah.
And like you have to think through problems and think through solutions and think about how can I make this happen? How do I do this? And part of that is like you have to work on your business instead of in your business. And so that thinking, like being willing to think through hard stuff is the number one thing I think that most people lack, and it prevents them from growing.
Want to become the best manager you can be? Check out our Kick-Ass Manager course at growasmallbusiness.com. Do the course and add your fellow managers for no extra cost. Join the 30%. 70% of people quit their job because of their manager. Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Yeah. So number one, I've done it one person at a time. People are always like, oh, I want a team. I want these 5. I need these 5 people. Like, that's cool, but I don't really know anybody that hires 5 people and builds a team in the US all at once and succeeds at it. Like you hire one person. And for me, the biggest thing was figuring out that if I hire someone to do the things that I know how to do, then I get time back. And I don't know very many people that have time, but I do.
Yeah.
Because I hired people to do my work for me. Where most outsourcing advice is like, oh, stick with what you're good at and outsource the rest. And I'm like, dude, that's terrible advice. That's terrible advice. I'm really good at programming. Should I just stick with programming and outsource the CEO and the marketing and the no, dude, that doesn't work. You know, you need to be the CEO. Outsource the things that you know how to do. Get someone else doing it because you can teach it and they can do it better than you, maybe, probably, often, you know?
Yeah. I've found that for sure.
Some failures. So and this is just kind of the part of my process in hiring, but hiring the first person I found was like a couple times that was a big failure. Like, oh, this person looks so awesome on paper. They look so great. Their skills are so high. Look, I want to start you tomorrow. And I didn't thoroughly interview and vet. And because I thought I was just hiring a skill. Like, I'm hiring you to run Facebook ads. I'm hiring a skill. And it turns out you're really good at running Facebook ads, but I don't like working with you. And that sucks because I'm not hiring a skill. You're hiring a person, and that person has a personality. And if I don't like getting emails from you every day, well, then, you know, I don't care how good you are. I don't like it. So that's been a good learning thing for me is you're hiring a person with a personality, not a skill.
What are some of the things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Take responsibility. So especially with the Philippines, when something goes wrong, you have to take responsibility yourself. What did I do that caused this failure? And tell them, like, hey, I think I've done something wrong here. I don't like the result of what happened, and I think it's my fault. Rather than, you suck, you did this wrong, I explained it so well. Well, you probably didn't explain it that well.
I think that's the root cause of most of the problems. Even though their English is very good in the Philippines, I found early on anyway, and I said immediately, it's my fault. As Drucker said, communication is what the listener does. It's my responsibility to communicate clearly what I need or am expecting. And I think, you know, a lot of the times people just fire off emails saying, do this. And firstly, they haven't told them why they need it to give context. And secondly, they've left some part out and then they get upset that the person hasn't done what they thought they could have just done with that very short email.
I can't even tell you how many times I've had an employer say like, oh man, I hired this person, I vetted him, and I thought they were awesome and they suck. I sent them these instructions and it's super obvious what to do and they can't do it right. And they send me the instructions and I looked at it and was like, dude, I have no clue what you want me to do. I have no clue.
Yeah.
But you want the person in the Philippines to do it perfectly. And that's something that I feel like we do this often. Like, it's so clear to me what to do. I don't know what I don't know. You know, so your person overseas doesn't know what you do, and so you think you have some context of things that you think that they do too, and they don't, and that often leads to problems.
Yep. I think you've nailed this next question. Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Yeah, I mean, no other success in life compensates for failure in the home. That to me is like such a big deal. So I put other stuff first. My kids just walked in, right? It's 3:40 and I'm done. Like, when we're done with recording this podcast, I'm done and I go spend time with my kids. And because there's always more work to be done.
Yep.
Always. There's always
inbox will never be empty. Yep.
Yeah, it'll be there tomorrow.
Yep.
My kids may or may not be. And at some point they're just, they're gone.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. I have some friends that are like, I just want to spend quality time with my kids right now, but I need to work my tail off. And then when I spend time with them, I'll spend quality time. Like, dude, sorry, kids don't want quality time. Kids just want time.
That's right. The greatest bond I read a few years ago in a study with children is created before they're 9 or 10, I think. So it's a bit of a false economy. A lot of parents say, I'm going to work hard now, build up the wealth, and then retire, and we'll all be able to go on massive holidays together. But by the time they do, the kids are, late teens into their 20s, and that rapport and relationship just isn't there.
Yeah, they don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And, obviously this is easy for me to say, where I've had so much success so early on and with my kids. I've also made a lot of choices towards that.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not going to do that because that's going to take time away from my kids. Yes, I could make $1 million doing this thing, but I don't want to do that.
No. Well, over the last 15 years, averaging about 17 hours a week work, that is a tremendous success, John. So congratulations on that front.
Thank you.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself?
Not that much. Probably not as much as I should. Because again, it takes time. And every time I do, I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. I should do more of this. But then, like, I just got invited to a mastermind. And it's like, oh, dude, this is like a commitment where I'm going to be gone for this and this and this. And then my wife's left alone with the kids, and I want to spend time with my wife and my kid, So probably not as much as I should, but there's a reason.
Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
So I've never had a coach. I've had a number of mentors that have affected me. Yeah. When I was starting, I had a couple of guys that took me under their wing and like brought me into this mastermind group that I had no business being a part of. And they treated me super well. And they gave me some really, really amazing advice on specific things that we were doing that, like, I don't know, 10x'd our revenue on that thing when we launched it. I'm good friends with like Russell Brunson has just been really good to me. Like when we're on vacation together we travel together with our families, and just talking through things that we both talk about, here's what I'm doing. It's just good to hear his side of things and like push me in the things that I'm not good at, for him to push me on those things. And then I probably return the favor to him. I push him on things he's not good at, whatever.
Yeah.
But he's been a good mentor to me.
Do you have a board of directors or advisors?
No.
All right, John, we're on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
What's the hardest thing? The hardest thing is making the first sale, where you have to provide enough value to get someone to say, yes, I want that thing.
Yeah. Yep.
When you've provided that value, the second time it's easier, and the third time it's easier still, and you get better at providing value.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
So there's been a couple of them. I think it's called My Life in Scientific Advertising, where he talks about, it's about selling and copywriting, and just so good.
Have you read David Ogilvy's book, An Advertising Man?
I don't think so.
It's a good one. It's 1950s. Ironically, I picked up one spelling mistake in there. He spells desert, or the other way around. I can't remember. Yeah. But Mad Men, the series, apparently was based on Ogilvy, the big agency. But he only started in copywriting or advertising, in his early 40s, I think. And yeah, it's a great book. If you're a fan of copywriting and ad making.
Yeah. And this is probably similar. Like it was probably, I don't know, 60s or 70s, something like that. Yeah. Really, really old, like old school, but so good in the psychology of buying.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's still relevant today. The principles are still to be used. Yeah. Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
No.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
Snagit.
What's that?
Dude, it's so amazing. It's like, Loom.
Okay. Yeah.
I use Snagit. I don't use Loom, because Snagit lets me screen record or screen capture and set it up so with one click, it uploads whatever that thing is to a server of mine. And then that thing is permanently on that server I have things there from 15 years ago. And that video that I recorded 15 years ago is still available. So I never lose anything. Any training I create, any feedback I create, any decisions I make, any design of this system, however we want it to work, whatever, it's all still there because of Snagit.
So you can set where it goes, like a Google Drive folder, for example.
You can set a Google Drive folder or a Dropbox folder or like a web hosting account, which is what I do. So I bought a domain specifically for this.
Yeah.
I bought a domain. It uploads to my web hosting account, which is like Host Monster, like super, super cheap hosting. And it goes there and sets the URL as a custom from that domain that I bought and puts the URL in my clipboard.
That's great.
I just click upload and then I click paste for the URL
Yep.
into an email or a project management system, and that thing is forever preserved. It's so awesome.
That's great. I'm going to look at that. Loom is annoying because you got to download the MP4 file and upload it somewhere else, etc. That's a great tip.
Yeah, dude, that's completely unacceptable. When I figured out, I mean, this started with Jing project, which was it no longer exists, but Snagit does the same thing, and it's just no thought. There's no extra steps. It's one click, and your video is there for you and for someone else. One click.
Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
Like if I knew what I know today, I would say provide value, because I didn't understand that in the beginning.
Yep.
Find a way to provide value. Whatever it is you're doing, you're a realtor, provide some value beyond what other realtors do. You are an insurance agent. Find a way to provide value that's not normal. You are running a small business, like a print shop. Provide some value that's different. Whatever it is, provide value is like so critical.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for your time today, John. I really enjoyed our chat, and congratulations on the growth of the business over the last, 15 years now, 2008, from 2 full-time equivalents, yourself and the programmer, up to around 40 now, and hitting eight figures last year is wonderful success. But the thing that stands out for me is that you've been able to average 17 hours a week working for the last 15 years is incredible. So congratulations again.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.